Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me today. Welcome to our weekly recruitment webinar. My name is Emma Ganesh. I am the CEO and co-founder of Landed, a talent hiring software solution. I have almost 20 years experience in recruiting talent, and either as a recruitment agent or now as an employer myself, I have witnessed firsthand the change in technology and the impact this has on reaching and engaging talent over the years. Today we are going to explore the topic of what is social recruiting. I hope in the time that we have together, which is roughly about 15 or 20 minutes, I hope to answer some questions you may have on the topic and give you a measured insight into the perceived game changer in the battle for ongoing talent. So without further ado, I'll just crack on with the slides. There will be time at the end for some questions, so feel free at the end of the session to unmute your mics and to ask me any questions, or you can email me and we can do a one-to-one. So what is social recruiting? Social recruiting doesn't really have a simple answer. It seems like a relatively simple question. However, even if you go into Wikipedia and were to type in social recruiting, it is a contested term. Social recruiting can mean either social hiring or social media recruitment, but essentially it is recruiting candidates by using social platforms as either talent databases or for advertising purposes. But whatever you call it, what it essentially amounts to is recruiting talent by use of those social platforms. Many experts have given their definitions over the time, but it also remains open for interpretation. So whether you're using social media profiles, blogs, or other internet sites to find information on candidates, social recruiting can be quite a wide definition. If we just look at some of the leaders in the field and what they have said, Alison Doyle of job search expert about.com would define social recruiting as when companies and recruiters use Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter and other social media sites to source and recruit candidates for employment. Another well-known person in the field, Holly Fawcett, digital marketer at Social Talent, would define social recruiting as about defining your employer brand that gives employees reasons to pursue their career with you. It's not about poaching staff, it's not about mass hires, it's about jobs and livelihoods with your company. And that message is delivered through contemporary social ideas and methods that reach real people. So you can see there, you can get a little bit more in depth to it. It's not just about posting jobs. And then you have Bill Boorman, who's very well known in the recruitment field, from the Recruiting on Conference founder, taking a social approach to recruiting on and offline. It's not technology, it's more talk to than apply for. So it's really about engaging talent, talking to them, nurturing them, and getting them on board to the point where they want to apply for your job. But it's not just about the apply for jobs. So you can see everyone has a different opinion, but the one constant that remains with social recruiting is that it's not standard to put an advert on a job board and it's wait for applicants to apply. But before we delve into that, let's take a look at how recruiting really has changed over the last 20 years. Now, I'm showing my age here, but I can remember the days of using a fax machine, of sending off either CVs or filled in handwritten application forms to clients in my early days as a recruitment agent. Filling in application forms by hand. I don't think it's a concept my children today would fully understand. So that was only 20 years ago. The fax machine was the key tool within any recruiter and HR team's field, and there was just files upon files and row upon row of filing cabinets with candidate information. 10 years later, the fax machine had very much been replaced by the email, and it's really in the last sort of 15 years that has really taken off. It's more about CVs, but CVs have become very bog standard in that it's just candidates putting their information, copying their job descriptions and firing it off to whoever they feel may take a look at it. So that revolution with Microsoft Office and free email accounts really took over from the fax machine, and before you knew it, your inbox was literally bursting with CVs and emails every time you went to hire, and that became very easy to lose track of who the key candidates were. But now we're in 2017, really this has probably seen the biggest change in the last 10 years, the explosion of social media. And that whole revolution of the smartphone and being able to get data in your hand at any time that you want. It's become more colourful, it's become instant and constant, and it's become something that people expect to be able to do very, very easily. And that in a way makes it complex in itself. I mean, millennials, you may have noticed, are pretty much glued to their smartphones and devices. Maybe that's just my children. But it's where they get their information. And it's not just millennials who now rely heavily on smart tech. 97% of the adult population in Western economies have a mobile phone. And as a majority of these are smartphones. Our phones are effectively mini computers in the palm of our hands. We can book holidays. We can buy our groceries. We can order concert tickets. We can hail a cab, unless you're in London, with what's happened over the last few days. But essentially, our mobiles are essential in our everyday life. Therefore, it makes perfect sense that to be able to find and apply for a job on a mobile device is something that people would expect to do. This want and desire for social interaction on a scale that we see today, it has always been there. We've always wanted to connect with people, but technology has finally caught up with those visions and dreams of the initial creators of the internet, and even perhaps going back to the telephone. It was about bringing and tying people together, and in a way it's made our world a much smaller place and giving us more access to more people on a much greater scale than we were ever used to. So you can see where the whole idea of social recruiting starts to evolve from. The one thing to bear in mind when really talking about social recruiting, it's focusing on attracting people to your company and not just to filling a job. This is where social recruiting differs from standard recruitment advertising. Standardized recruitment advertising is about putting a job advert in either the newspaper or a job board, and your sole purpose is to fill that job. Social recruiting is about building your employer brand. It's about building a strong, loyal following from fans, from customers who could become future employees. And customers who enjoy your product are likely to make the best employees because they're already ambassadors for you. It's about creating an excitement, a buzz for your company so that when you are actually hiring people, they're ready and willing and wanting to apply for your job. So it should make getting the talent a lot easier. It's not, as I say, just about sticking adverts and social job postings on social media. It's about looking at the much bigger picture. Social recruiting essentially allows you, if it's done correctly, to turn strangers into your social audience and your social audience then into your employees. But it must be done correctly. It can't be just something that you do every now and again. It has to follow a strategy, and it has to follow a process, and it has to be consistent in the delivery that you're actually sending it out to. So to do that, the modern in-house recruiter needs to really start thinking a little bit more like a modern marketer. You need to be part creative, part scientist, and this includes hiring managers, HR teams, all of these people who are involved in recruiting and attracting and hiring talent need to start thinking a little bit more like a marketing person in certain aspects of their role. The creative side is about writing good content, using strong visuals to build a brand. Work with your marketing team to ensure that you still get the company brand guidelines adhered to, so you're not stepping outside and sort of disrespecting the company brand that they've spent a lot of time and effort working on. But be warned that if you're going to start talking to them about gaining access to your social media accounts, they tend to be a little bit protective about giving out admin access to social media because they don't want you spamming what they would say their social media timeline with lots and lots of job adverts. So you need to work with them so you can build a proper social media recruitment strategy, one that's very similar to their own social marketing strategy that they have for the business. You need to connect your social media and email to various applicant tracking systems, and you want to ensure that posts are mobile optimized. So the first protocol for you should be just to check that your website is mobile optimized, and obviously then that your careers page is also mobile optimized. From there, your application process should seamlessly follow into that, being able to be accessed on a mobile. If you're being creative, you really have got a chance on social media to do something that you've never been able to do in the likes of newspapers and window adverts for your jobs, and that to use video to promote and engage your brand, to get your current staff to say how wonderful your place of employment is and the opportunities that you have to offer. So it's a real opportunity, even for small companies, to create a bit of sense of excitement about why people should apply for you in the future and what opportunities are coming. Google, for example, loves the use of videos. And Google loves the idea that job adverts are increasing job rankings through the use of video. So if you look through the new information that's coming out about Google Jobs, which is basically a place where they'll be able to grab, and almost like they do with their marketing aspect about their Google rankings, they're going to do the same for your job. So you need to check your job boards are HTTPS secure, and you also need to start using video and really using your content to help drive that side of your social recruiting. The second half of your job, and Joe, sorry, I did see you put a question there. I'll come back and answer that at the end if you don't mind. I've just been answering questions as we go, so I'll come back to your question at the very end. The second half of your job needs to be more scientific. Good applicant tracking, not only applicants, applications, or the source of applications, but so you're not just looking for who the applicants are. What you're looking to do is where those applicants came from, and build that analytics and that whole return of investment in together. And to do that, so really behind your social recruiting, put in some tracking mechanisms, and you can do that through Facebook and through Google, just as you would do any normal marketing techniques as well. Measure those return on investments through the likes of your Facebook pixels and connect those with your ATS, and that'll give you really good solid analytics for future analysis. Use repeated advertising through the Facebook pixels so that it just keeps flashing up on the proper demographics, and use your retargeting adverts and social demographics. All these are areas that your marketing department should be aware of, if you've got a good, strong marketing department who have got access to the digital marketing techniques. If not, it might be something of a project that you want to embark on with them. So your first protocol, I would say, if you haven't already had this, is to go to your marketing department or your marketing manager and see what you can do to work on together to really build that employer branding for your business before you go down a route of starting posting on social media, because otherwise you're just maybe sort of blowing hot air into the wind. Social recruiting can return applicants a fraction of the cost of traditional advertising. That is absolutely true, but only if you have strong foundations underneath. So as I've said before, you need to build a strong social presence and don't expect the results overnight. It's not the same as going to a recruitment agency and asking them to give you a load of candidates, but at the same time, through applied methods and through building up a social platform and that social following, you'll be able to reduce those agency costs and agency spends that you have. But I can't stress enough, it's not a magic toolkit. You're not, if you put an advert up on Facebook, going to get 1,000 applicants overnight, unless, of course, you have a really strong social following already. If you're starting from scratch, it's going to take time to build up first that social following on social media, and then to get them encouraged into applying for your company. So you have to put a bit of the hard work in beforehand. The first area for you to look at is your fan base. Do you have followers on social media? If you have followers, then people will see your post. And if they see your post, then they're likely to click and engage and share it. And you can do that without boosting. So this is an example of a client of ours. They have a good, strong following base. They had no need to boost, so it didn't cost them anything. And they were able to put an advert up to say that they were hiring for talent. And they got a large number of applications in, and more than enough to satisfy their recruitment needs for that time. If you don't have a following base, then you can start to build it up by boosting your posts. You'll see here with Facebook, and that doesn't have to be massively expensive in comparison to newspaper adverts. But again, the best place to go to for advice on that is perhaps your marketing department. So ask yourself a few very quick questions. Do you have any followers? If you do, who are they and how do you get more of them? What does your current social media profile say about you? And what does it say about your company? Is it a page that you would share with your friends? Is it a page that your employees would share with their friends? Because likely they're going to be the people that you might actually pull some of your candidate base from. Are you willing to spend a little bit of money on sponsored adverts and boosted posts to increase your following? As this is where it's maybe time to have that good meeting with your marketing manager. So set that time aside, because there is no point posting to social media if you have 50 followers and they're all your family, your members, because you're highly unlikely to employ all of them. So get people to start liking and sharing your page by all means, but perhaps you need to spend a little bit of money to boost that following. There are 5 areas that you really want to focus on if you are going to embark upon social recruiting. I've covered some of these, but I'm going to really summarize them for you so it's fairly clear. So to get the most from your sort of recruiting strategy, follow these simple steps and see where you need to make the changes now. First is content and visuals, then there's your personas. It's more than the big three. Make it mobile, and your applicant tracking and capture. So content, visuals and videos. That's a bit of a mouthful. But basically, don't just share posts about your job openings. That is not what social recruiting is about. It's not just a job board. It's not just about job postings. Use your social media channels to promote exciting growth areas within your business, exciting news stories that are going to say, oh, that looks like a really good company and I'd love to work with them. Are they going to be hiring in the future? So they'll start to follow your career space. Any openings of new offices, any staff success stories, if staff have gone off and done some amazing voluntary work, those are the kind of things people want to see on your social media following about your employer branding. And over time, your employer brand become one that people recognize in your company is one that they'll want to work for. So make sure that you're following these up with job announcements later in the future. So things that you can share on social media, if you've got a video, for example, and you can put a bit of content in there and you can say if you've ever wanted to try for Northern Ireland, etc., etc., and then a video for them to look at. From there, you can actually then guide them to apply for any of the jobs that you may have. Other things that you can do is say to them about the welcome days that you're going to have. Use some just nice pictures to say, look, we're a great company, we welcome you in, it's vitally important that new team members, etc., become part of the family. So share all of this information with your people and potential employees as you go down. And then other areas, things like just good news stories about your building, the fact that you're successful, and make sure you get that in there, because again, it just gives people saying, well, look, this company's really going places. This is the kind of company that we perhaps want to go and work for. And then from there, you can follow that up with actual jobs, that people may want to actually start following you on your social media job feed to find out what jobs they can apply for. If you do have a job advert, ensure that when you advertise the job, it's got some good, strong graphics in place that really promotes your employer branding. And also make sure that from the very beginning, your process is mobile optimized. So make sure that the candidates can apply on the mobile phone, but I'll come into that in a bit more detail. Secondly is your personas and demographics. I'm sure some of you know this, you've worked on social media even just through your own advertising, but again, your marketing department can really help with this, is that on social media you can narrow down to target people by job title, by interest, by geographic area, by hobbies, by so many different things that you can really pinpoint. But obviously the more you narrow down a job search on demographic, the narrower your results are going to be. So like the same ways, you can open it up to a much wider geography. For example, you could say human resource managers, people with that in their job title, based in Belfast, Northern Ireland, within 50, maybe 60, 70 mile radius. So it basically incorporates the whole of Northern Ireland, but it will target very much Belfast people first. So this means then when you do sponsor your jobs and pay for an online advert, you're likely to target those specific people, and they're more than likely to see that advert in their timeline. So if you're going to advertise online, have a think about those demographics. Now, you can only hone in on personas and demographics if you're boosting and paying for an advert. So it doesn't apply to free job posts. It only applies to anything that you're boosting and paying for on any of your social media channels. Remember, it's not just the big three. The big three being Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. These are the first places people think about posting any job adverts or anything to do with their employer brand. Depending on your audience, there are more channels to consider. For example, if you are looking for graduates, graduates are more likely to be on Snapchat than Facebook. Apparently, Facebook is for old people. Now, there are some young people on Facebook, but generally you will find anybody between the age 14 up to 24 are Snapchatting all day long. So if you can get into Snapchat and find somebody within the marketing team who understands how that works, then it may be a place for you to go if you're looking for graduate employment. Graphic designers, more than likely to be on Pinterest rather than LinkedIn. So this is where you're going to share basically visuals about who your company is and what you're doing, and then sponsor your adverts to be on Pinterest as well. Same with Instagram. Instagram is very visual orientated. So if you've got graphics roles or anything creative or arty, then Instagram is a channel that you may want to consider. If it's a professional role, then clearly LinkedIn may be the way to go. But if it's something like a delivery driver or a more manual based job, the chances are they're not going to be on LinkedIn, so you don't want to go spending your time on a channel where they're not be. There is no point putting your adverts out where they're not there. Otherwise you're just talking to empty space. So think about your audience. Where do they hang out, and target your social adverts accordingly. The one thing I can't stress more than anything else, and we had a conversation with Indeed the other day about advertising, is mobile. 74% of job seekers today will use mobile to apply for their online jobs. That increases if you go social, because 95% of people use a mobile to view a social media post. So if you're posting anything on your social media channels that is related to applying for a job within your company, then you need to ensure your application process is mobile. Getting them to send you a direct message is probably one of the worst things you may ever do, because then your timeline or your messenger, and it's your personal messenger, will be beeping outside hours. I have a story of a company that we work with before they worked with us, before they had the online process. They would say to candidates, send us a message if you wish to apply. And all that would happen is that their messenger was flashing up. Now, they were advertising nighttime roles for night nurses to be working in a care home. So lo and behold, the people who were applying for the job were applying in the middle of the night, during their breaks, etc., or first thing in the morning when they got home. So this person who was managing the Facebook account was getting messenger messages appearing on their phone until they turned it off at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And if you engage with somebody on Messenger, on whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn, it's a conversation. And there are times when that is appropriate, perhaps when you're just sharing information about your employer branding and you want it to be a chat. But if it's to do with a particular job, you will get drawn into a long-winded conversation, and it's not helping you spend your time wisely. Surprisingly, only 21% of companies have a mobile responsive application process. And the quickest and easiest way for you to check that you do have one is to today go to your company page, go to your website on your mobile, and see, can you scroll up and down, and is it readable, or are you having to increase and zoom in on certain images? Then click through to your vacancies or your careers page, or however you list it, and look to see how your jobs are listed. And then, if you can, click on the apply button if you have one, and see how that looks on your mobile phone. Because the one thing you don't want to do is spend a lot of time, money and effort creating a very strong social media recruitment following and putting your adverts out on social recruiting, and then not have a mobile process to enable you to capture those applicants. And that is probably the biggest downfall, where a lot of companies really fall and say, oh, social recruiting doesn't work. It's not that social recruiting doesn't work, it's the application process that you have in place that doesn't work. So if your application process looks, and job listings look a little bit like this, and this is a screenshot from my phone of a company, then you can see why it doesn't work. If I were a candidate, I wouldn't even have clicked through the apply button, because I actually can't see which one it is. So if your careers page and your application process looks like this, then you need to look at how you can get that mobile optimized. If you want to have something that's nice and clean, a page that scrolls easily up and down, and one that you can clearly type into. So one where you've got the information and it's very quick and easy to apply. One that lets you put in your email address and put in your basic details, and one that candidates will be able to fill in very, very quickly on a mobile phone. Candidates are quite fickle. They will give up on an online process if it's too hard, if it's not mobile friendly, and if it's long and drawn out. They want to get their information to you, and they want to move on with the rest of their day. Done right, social media recruiting, or social recruiting, you see the disparity in the names, used in conjunction with online filtering, can help you reach more candidates through your online advertising. It can help you reduce the time it takes to engage those candidates, and time to hire can be reduced accordingly. You can increase the quality of the candidates because you're hiring from your fan base. You're hiring from people who want to work for your company, who've taken the time to follow you online and who really like what they see. And it can really help you build a strong employer branding, one that's going to be recognizable and one that will enhance and promote you as a business. But social recruiting alone cannot solve all of your talent sourcing problems. To be totally effective, companies need to have a combination of online and offline channels if they want to hire the best talent. You need to have a mobile careers page. You need to work with certain job boards still, I presume. You're not going to roll them out completely. You need to be connected on social media, but importantly, you need to have a good social media following. So you need to build up that fan base initially. You need to have the mobile application form. So it's not just good enough to have your jobs listed on a mobile version. It needs to be right through to the application process. You need to have an ATS connected to your social media posts so that you can start to track and chase applicants. You want to have online skills filtering, because if you're going to be attracting more candidates through your social media following, you want to be able to filter them so that you can get to the right candidate faster. And you want to maybe start thinking about using video and video interview as well, so as a way to reach out to candidates that could be spread across different geographical areas. At Landed, we try to make social recruiting hiring. So this is a little bit of a sales pitch, I do admit, but it'll only take a few minutes just to show you what we do. And we're passionate about this. We think that social recruiting is definitely the area for growth within companies, and it's something that companies really need to start engaging. But you have to make it easy. We don't want to be looking at something that's going to take a long time to develop and implement. So what we have done is we have built a platform for recruiters by recruiters. Recruiters have been involved in the creative process the whole way through, but we've also brought on board marketing professionals to help us develop one that works with the social section and social advertising. Our dashboard enables the user to create branded recruitment campaigns with bespoke candidate selection tools and advertise across various different channels and track and share applications with colleagues, all from that one central dashboard. You can create a new vacancy and you can put in a screening process for each and every vacancy. So every job can be different, and we recognise that not all jobs require the same level of depth. You put in your job description, very similar to you do now when you're creating an advert for your job board or for your website. And then you start to put in your filtering questions. And then this is where we really tie it up, is we put in the branding. So this is where it becomes more like marketing. So you're putting in your branding, you're putting in your videos, you're putting in your email templates so that you can automate that process. And you can make edits to things like the job details and screening questions. But then we come on to our posting, and this is where we think we're fairly unique. We can connect you to Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. We can create you a Facebook careers page tab, which sits within your Facebook page. So it means you're not always posting all of your jobs, but candidates can see easily from Facebook what jobs you have live at any time. Connect you through to mobile, connect you to your careers website and to the job boards. But the social area is one of the strongest areas that a lot of our clients are finding very useful. But as I said earlier, social isn't the only thing. Social recruiting is part of your recruitment marketing campaign, and your recruitment marketing strategy is not the be all and end all. So we still have offline, where you can create QR codes and you can put newspaper adverts out or posters within your business. And you can even still connect to recruitment agencies and Google AdWords as well. Once you have created your vacancy, it's instantly published to your nice branded careers page. And this is mobile optimized from the beginning. Each of your landing pages can be completely unique, and you can put in pictures and profiles that are unique to the job. So if you're hiring an engineer, you're not going to have a picture of somebody who's a chef. If you're hiring somebody in HR, you're not going to have a works engineer picture. So you can do a little bit on your landing pages, and actually we're working to make these even more bespoke, and so they're much more like an advert as opposed to just a job information section. So think about your branding right down to each individual landing page. And then making your entry pages as attractive as possible. Again, just to build on that layer, similar to social media recruitment, about building your branding and how to make you look fresh and unique over and above your competition. And each of these pages are all mobile optimized, so that no matter where the candidate is applying from, if they've seen your advert on Facebook and click apply, they'll come to a mobile optimized page if they're on their phone. or their tablet or iPad. If they're on a computer, it'll bring them to the computerized version. It's the same with any of the posts that you put out there. Behind it sits the landing page and sits the application, and it's instantly recognizing what device they're on. Candidates can easily fill in information, simple, clean application forms that ask just about the information that you want to gather, without taking candidates into too much in-depth information, especially on the mobile phone. And importantly, to be compliant with new GDPR regulations coming up next year, we want to ensure that all of our clients and their candidates are protected. So each applicants are expected to fill in an applicant declaration at the end of the process, which basically covers them off and they know what their rights in relation to data protection are. So it's very important that if you are going down any form of application process, that you look at your GDPR guidelines. But that's another presentation that I leave to our GDPR expert, and you can join that in a few weeks' time. On your dashboard, you can quickly see what's working for you. You can see if your advert's getting any traction, and then you can make changes. And that's the beautiful thing about social media recruiting and any online recruiting. If you're connected to a bespoke dashboard and a platform like Landed, you can see instantly what's working. So you can open up for each and every job, and you can see which of the channels are working for you. So you can see in comparison to your job boards whether Twitter, Facebook, or any of your social media channels are actually working for you. So in this case, this was done quite some time ago, and the client didn't have a very strong social media following, but they were adamant that this is an area that they wanted to go through, and they were able to post out to the job boards, and then they could post out to social media as well. So you can see that it can work if you have a good social media following. Finally, social recruiting is by no means simple. It means maintaining a fresh, authentic and accessible employer brand message on social media, on your search engines and on the mobile web. Whether you like it or not, as a society, life is changing and we live in a more and more digital, social and on-demand society. Millennials aren't the only ones who are expecting it to be mobile and be instant. Everything we do today requires instant access and almost instant application, instant booking of flights, instant boarding. It's all becoming very, very instant. So if you ignore social recruiting, you're potentially going to ignore a large portion of the candidate marketplace. So we strongly recommend that every company out there has to begin to look at how they interact. And if you're going to go down the social media route, we'd be more than happy to assist you with that. If you do have any questions, I'll now open up the mic if I can, so that you can ask any questions directly. Or if you want to take the conversation offline, I'm more than happy to do so. My contact details are online. I'll leave that up there for a few moments. If you're interested in seeing a full demo of how Landed works and how we can help you create and manage a strong online and social recruiting strategy, then I'd be more than happy to arrange this for you. But for now, thank you very much for your time. It went on a little bit longer, but that's the Irish girl in me. I don't tend to know when to stop talking, but I'd be more than happy to take any questions that you have. Let me just... Joe, I'm trying to see that question that you asked, but I can't see it. So let me see if I can find it and I'll be able to answer that question for you. If you want to maybe type it in again, if you haven't got a mic. Well, yes, Joe. I've recorded this, so I'll be able to send you a copy. If that was your question, yes, I'll happily send you a copy of this. No problem at all. Okay, if there's no other questions, I'm going to sign off now. Thank you again for your time today. I hope you find that useful, and join us next week on our next webinar. You can follow us online on our social media, and we'll be able to see what webinars we have coming up every Wednesday at 2 o'clock. Thank you.